Irnise Williams, thank you so much for being a guest on this show, especially on the Bomb Energy Betting on Me segment. Everyone, I have to tell you, I met Irnise in a entrepreneur community, right? An entrepreneurial community. And her spirit is so infectious. She always speaks from a very vulnerable, genuine space. I admire her so much more than she probably knows. And I'm just honored that she's on this show because sis has incredible bomb energy. We're gonna cleave to these gems that she drops, but I'll go ahead and dive right in. But welcome, Irnise.
You. So excited to be here.
You are welcome. Thank you. So you're in a unique position, working at the intersection of the legal system and healthcare. You are passionate about birth and reproductive justice. You engage with healthcare providers in the political process to create policy change. You even improve medical access for marginalized communities. You're phenomenal, Ernest. Can you share how you arrived to this calling?
Yeah, so all my life I knew I wanted to be a nurse. I grew up around my grandparents who were always in the doctor and healthy at times. So I've been through all of that, their process, and it wasn't a bad experience, right? So I think so much of what we see now of healthcare being a bad experience, I don't think that's always been the norm. One, it used to be that most people couldn't access healthcare. So those who did, it just the volume wasn't there. So you had actually good experiences in quality healthcare. So I wanted to make sure that I was able to kind of pass on the amazing experiences of the nurses and doctors that treated my family to other patients because I knew that there are things that could happen out there, but I kind of wanted to stand in the gap for the patients that I encountered. And so I went to school and I became a nurse, went to Howard for undergrad, and that was always
Howard, nice.
yeah. And my dream was like, okay, I want to get out and work at Hopkins. And I ended up getting an internship there my last year of school, and that was my first job.
Mhm.
And once I accomplished like the biggest goal that I had, I was like, okay, what's next? Like this was it. Like I thought it was going to take me years before I was able to accomplish that goal.
Right.
And so then I began to really search for what else I could do, what other things I was passionate about. And it was a policy, but I didn't want to get just a public policy degree or an MPH or a master's in public health. I decided getting a law degree would just give me more options. It would allow me to work in policy and politics and really be able to get people to understand some of the struggles and just different things that people in the healthcare system endure.
Right.
And so I went back to Howard, went to Howard Law School, and got my law degree, stayed in healthcare for a while because I couldn't figure out what I loved, and then decided to create my own law practice. It took me a while to really become confident to really finally leave healthcare, but in that journey, I was able to pick up a lot of skills, meet a lot of people, learn a lot of things. And now I'm kind of able to be at a point in my career where I really understand the difficulties of the system and how we can
Yeah.
create great things. So yeah, that's kind of how I got to this, where I now own my own law practice. I educate healthcare providers on how to be better practitioners and how to engage with marginalized communities, and also teaching patients how to make the most and get the most out of their healthcare experience because they also have responsibilities. And in that, I just find so much joy because I think that if we begin to have these courageous conversations, we can really create great change.
Yeah, and I think it's powerful that you serve both sides, right? The healthcare providers as well as those who are receiving healthcare. I don't, at least today, right? I don't see as many people doing that, and I think it's so powerful so that both sides get that level of expertise, right? And know-how. So beautiful, and you've done it, right? So you've built a six-figure business in less than 1 year. Congratulations. Can you share what factors you attribute this success to?
Definitely. So I think the biggest thing is, building the confidence. Like I knew that I could start a business. I knew I wanted to be an entrepreneur, but somewhere along the way, I lost my confidence. And I know how that's happened, right? School, if you ever failed a class, if you ever failed a test, I failed the bar the first time. So all of those failures kind of piled on, and I just didn't feel like I was good enough. And one of my law school classmates got into coaching last year, and she was kind of just trying things out. And I was like, well, let me see what she's talking about. Like, I don't trust a lot of people on the internet, but I trusted her because she used to watch my baby when I was in law school. And so, I mean, how bad could it be, right? Like, why would someone who I could trust with my child, I couldn't trust with my dream?
Yeah.
And yet she learned a lot and was kind of just really showing me what she had learned. And I was like, wait, I now felt empowered to tap back into what I knew that I really wanted to do. And originally last year, I was trying to get into the tech space. And then finally, I was like, you know what? Like, I need to just relaunch my practice. And investing in the coaching, really putting some time and commitment behind the idea, and then also reviewing the data. So I kept, was starting to get clients, but a lot of people were coming for very small things. Like they wanted to do just one thing. And I'm like, okay, why? And it was really about the limitation of cost, right? I don't want any up bills. I don't want you to say you're billing me at this hourly rate, even though my hourly rate was low and I have a $5,000 bill. And so I was like, okay, a lot of people in the community have been doing flat fees and talking about flat fees, but I just hadn't quite adopted it. And so continuously investing in the education, right? And I marketing struggles. I invested in that. Marketing webinars was my struggle. I never heard or done webinars before, so I like attended courses in that. So really absorbing so much information. I took all of that information, set some goals, and then January 2021, I changed my process to flat fees. Really hit the ground marketing myself, being very clear about my messaging, being very clear about who I serve. And my goal this year was to have 12 clients, and by February I had 20. And then I was like, oh, okay, like this is real. And then I did my first webinar and I made $5,000. And I was like, oh, this is and so that's when it hit me like, there's a need for what I'm sharing and what I'm doing. I really need to continue to find my community and my ideal client, right? But in reality, people are just so surprised that I'm out there, that I exist, that there's a nurse who's a lawyer, there's a nurse who served as a travel nurse during COVID and understands the troubles that they have, but also understands like documentation and protecting your license is also really important. So, yeah, like that was really how I kind of pushed towards that six figures, is just honing in on my craft and being very focused on my data. So I saw what worked, I saw what didn't work. I was offering all of these services, cut back. I was offering all of these different type of payments and plans, cut back. Like really looking, so every month I'm constantly adjusting my business and my practice to reflect the best parts of it and taking that into the next month. And then I've just continuously seen growth month over month.
Yep. So many gems in that, Irnise, right? The education piece, right? You didn't say, okay, in 10 years I'll know enough to be dangerous, right? You invested in education and webinars, etc., right? The data piece is huge, right? Because as you try different things, obviously you can tell what works and what doesn't. Like you let your clients tell you, not guessing from your intuition, right? But I think the most powerful piece that as Black women, we commonly don't lean into as much is lean on your tribe, right? If I trust you with my baby, why can't I trust you with my dream? Like that was a bar, right? Really tapping into people who can help us, right? People who can have 5-minute conversations that change the next 5 years of our lives, right? So can you share with us how partnerships and collaborations have impacted your exposure and your success in entrepreneurship?
Definitely. So last year around, this time I had like 300 followers on Instagram. I was relaunching my practice, rebranding, and I was like, okay, like I can't tap into my friends and my family to build this business. I need to tap into the community that already exists. And somehow I like just was, researching and looking at other accounts that were nursing and nursing leaders and educators and began to connect with them organically, just followed them, supported their posts, liked and commented. And then people started seeing my name and like, wait, who are you? And then they would message me and say, you're really a nurse and a lawyer? And I'm like, yeah, casual, right?
Yeah.
And once I tapped into that community, I ended up connecting with a nurse educator. Her name is Tiffany. We're really good friends now. And she just put me on. Like, and that's what I try to tell people. You failing to network because you're afraid. You're failing to network because you don't know what to say.
Right.
Like there was special. I wasn't a like, please help me, please be my mentor, please put me on. It was really an organic, genuine, respectful relationship, supporting the things that she already had going on.
Yep.
And then from there, it allowed her to find out and learn more about me. She put me on, we did like a live together on one of these big platforms, not even just her page, but like an even bigger platform. And then from there, people began to plug in. And then once she kind of vouched for me because of a community that she was already established in, everyone was like, oh, you must be legit because she doesn't even,
Right.
So in that collaboration was kind of the first, literally when I relaunched in kind of like, I think June was when I launched, but really September when I was going hard. By November of last year, I had booked like 10 podcasts. People
Right.
wanted to do articles, people wanted me to be guest bloggers, like all of those
Right.
things were great opportunities. And so we are so sometimes afraid of like keeping our information to myself. People ask me questions about my business. Even if I answer your question, it doesn't mean that you can execute it. So I don't feel bad about sharing about my business. I don't feel, like some people are just like, oh no, you have to tap in to learn. And honestly, like until you really like, you can't do what I do. And so I don't take that from anybody, right? So I'm always willing and open to share. And people would come and like, what should I do about this? Or what should I do about that? And I would just share, right? And I began to bring value to the community, and I began to bring value to the conversations from a different perspective. I wasn't repeating what was already out there, but actually bringing a fresh new perspective. And I'm also constantly learning. And so I'm able to also bring that additional information to that. And so people have then just kind of been able to work with me. And through those collaborations and those relationships, I've been able to book keynotes, right? And been able to tap into even greater levels and organizations that I would have never had access to by me knocking on the door. So yeah, I think collaborations and networking are pretty much the biggest accelerators to my professional career. Like in my business and personally, it's always been that.
That's huge. I mean, to know that you have over 17,000 followers today, and last year you only had 300, like that is huge, right? So that's definitely a proven track record that you have on this, right? And Marty Woodard, who both of us learned from, that's actually the community, that's who curated this community that we're both a part of. He dropped, he's always matching edges, right? But he dropped a quote recently that said, if you're afraid to offer what you know via free content, right, that means you don't know enough, right? If you're going to give everything you know in the free content you're giving, that means you need to go back and learn some more, right? So I love that you keep reiterating the importance of educating yourself, right, and being a forever student, right? Because you ain't even you get a little too lazy if all you got are 3 things in your bag, right? And you can't share it. So I love that. I vouch or just second everything you said. So you dropped a gem on your IG recently that I absolutely love. You said, trust the process, but do the damn work. That's a whole bar, sis. Hard work is a monumental part of the success formula, right? So in what ways do you sharpen yourself as an entrepreneur? I know you mentioned, courses, etc. But are there any, pointed tips, books, communities to be a part of, etc., that you can share that you've done for yourself?
Yeah, I'm always learning. Like, I think sometimes we take for granted the free information that is out there, the YouTube. We take for granted that there are free webinars. The people who answer my calls, like my phone calls, they offer free webinars multiple times a month. And if I can't attend, I register and just catch the replay. In those opportunities, I figured out how to optimize my LinkedIn for free. I've learned how new marketing skills. I've learned about new books to read. And I think that's what I'm really good at, absorbing information. So yes, listening to whatever everyone else is reading, but also like if I'm not inspired by the book or I'm not inspired by the podcast, going on to the next episode, right? So I listen a lot to Sleep is for Suckers, which is a really good podcast, but sometimes some of the speakers I don't really resonate with because I'm like, y'all hustling. Like I do understand hustle and hustle is a part of the business, but I'm looking for people who are strategic. There's a difference between hustle and strategy. But their latest episode with Dawn Dixon, she's strategy. Like she's a hustler, but she's a real good strategist. And so when you learn to listen to what people are really saying, there are people who are willing to teach you a system that is going to get you the money, but it's actually going to there are people who can teach you the strategy that will get you longevity.
So what would you tell the Black woman who wants to step out on her own, but is currently paralyzed by fear?
I think the first thing you need to do is to look back at like your old journals, your old notes, your old books. Like find that person who was super just creative and dreamy. And I look back at some of the things I used to say, I'm like, who is that?
Yeah.
Find that person.
Oh,
I think from who we are right now, we're saddled with doubt, stress, drama. But that person is the person who you really need to tap into. I think that past person, the person who we were 5, 10, even when you were a child,
yeah.
that's the person that really pushed you to be where you are and do what you do, but you just get lost along the way.
That is so powerful because it's not telling someone to go be like Oprah, go be like someone else to do better, right? It's telling the person that what you need already resides within, right? Your best self, right? Is already inside of there. Just go find her again. That gives me chills. It is so accurate. And I thank you so much for everything that you've shared today. So many gems. I can't wait to put into practice a lot of the things that you said, because it stretches me even further, right? The way that I'm attacking the things that I'm doing, right? So thank you so much, Irnise. You are light, you are love, and I am so, so grateful to you.